So today we talk about the repeating decimals and especially focus on how to change the repeating decimals to fractions. If you look at the first example, 1 over 3, we know it's 0.333 and repeating. And if you look at 1 over 7, that's 0.142857 and repeating. So usually we will read that fraction as 0.3 with a small bar on top of 3. That means the 3 is repeating. And the same thing for 1 over 7, that's 0.142857 and repeating on these 6 digits. So we call the first one, the repeating block is 1, and the second one, repeating block is 6, because these 6 numbers is repeating. So just below that, if you usually you will know there is a shortcuts. You will see 0.1, so you put the denominator as 9, and then put the 1 on top of that. So by doing that, you can change the repeating numbers to fractions. It's the same thing for the second. If you say 0.25 repeating on 25, and because the repeating block is 2, that's why you put the denominator as 99 and put the numerator as 25. So by doing that, you can change that to fractions. Sometimes the question might be a little bit complicated. If you look at this example, it's 0.17, 85, 71, 42. So the repeating block is 6. It's right here. There's 6 digits over there. But the 17 is not repeating. So to change that to fractions, what you need to do is to add the number of 9s in terms of how many numbers are repeating. Let's say here, the repeating block is 6. That's why you add 6 9s. And then the 1 7 is not repeating, but it's 2 digits. That's why you add 2 0 on below, just behind that. And on the top, you take all these numbers, 1 7, 85, 71, 42, minus the digits not repeating, which is 17. So that's how you change that to fractions. So you may be wondering, how does this work, right? So today we are going to talk about the theory behind that. And also this is kind of like a standard approach in terms of changing repeating decimals to fractions. If you look at the first one, 0.3, we use these two as an example. So 0.3, what we will do is we'll assume x equals 0.3 repeating. So what you need to do is you need to come up with something so that you can have the same repeating block and the same repeating decimals so that you can cancel it out. So for example, for this one, if I multiply 10 on both sides, so that means 10 times 0.3 repeating. And then you know this is 3.3 repeating. So this is 10x. Now if you look at the 1 and 2, so from there you can see this is exactly the same repeating decimals with the same number of repeating block. Then if you take the 2 minus 1, then what you have is 10x minus x equals 3.3 repeating minus 0.3 repeating. Then you can cancel that repeating block, which is lead you to the 3. So that's why you have 9x equals 3. You have x equals 1 over 3. So on the right side, I know on the left side it's a little bit simpler. And then on the right side, we can do the same thing. So the only thing you need to be careful is, so when you replicate the repeating blocks, so what number to multiply right here? So if you let's say we do the same thing. Let's assume x equals 0.345 repeating on 45. So the first thing, remember, so we need to change that to the same repeating blocks. So if I multiply x equals 10, using 10, then you have 3.45. You'll see the repeating block is right behind these decimal points. And then if we do one more time, so let's say if we multiply 1,000, so I'm going to explain why it multiply 1,000 later on. So then what you have is 345.45 and repeating on 45. Now if you look at these two, so this one, this is 1, this is 2. So they have exactly the same repeating numbers or decimals. If you're exactly the same number of repeating blocks, they are all behind the decimal points. Now you can take the 2 minus 1, and then what you have is 1,000x minus 10x equals 345.45 repeating minus 3.45 repeating. Obviously, left side will be 990x, and then right side will have 345 minus 3 is 342. So then you can see divided by 990 on both ends, you have 342 divided by 990, and then you can simplify from there. So just one question left is, so why we multiply 1000 instead of 100? So let's say if you multiply 100, so what you have is, you have 3, 4, 5, 4 repeating. You see, you will not end up with the same repeating block as this. That's why you cannot actually do the subtraction and then take out repeating blocks. So this is the standard way to change the repeating decimals to fractions.